So we do want to talk about the book a little more. So for anyone who may not have tuned in last week, can you go over it one more time?
Okay.
The concept of the game of life,
Yes.
90 by 45, which until last week I didn't know what the dimensions of the basketball court were. Because to me a basketball court is a color guard field. That's all. That's all I get. It's where you spin your flag, and then sometimes these players come and get in the way.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. But that is such great honesty. Hey man, she keeps it real, Bishop. She keeps it real.
90 by 45 are the dimensions of the basketball court. So I wrote this book about, in allegory and metaphor form, to talk about how you live life in the confines of the boundaries that have been allotted, and that every life is a 90 by 45. And you have to make sure that you put demarcations in your sand and in your boundaries around your perimeters so that you don't have people to come and trespass into your life space without your permission. And then we talked a little bit last week about the volume of voices that are outside your 90 by 45. So the cameraman, the clock keeper, the cheerleaders, people in the stands, even your team and your coach are outside your 90 by 45, but they're trying to influence your decision. So you have to pay attention to who you lend your ear to, because every voice is not for your victory.
The one of the things that struck me last week about this also was I am not a sports girl, in case you haven't picked up on
It's
that.
all good.
And when I was in college, one of my professors was trying to explain a communication theory using baseball. So I went to one of my other professors and said, I don't get baseball, so I'm not going to get this comparison. So the very next night in class, the professor was giving, he was very sarcastic about it, and he said, I'm going to use meat sauce and cheese sauce this time. I think everybody can grasp the concept of meat sauce and cheese sauce. But I felt like, listen, you don't have to, you're not offending me because I need to learn this. So if you need to talk in the smallest words possible till I get it, then that's what you have to do because you're the professor, okay? So this, though, even though I don't get sports, makes perfect sense to me.
Great.
And the other thing is, my sister and I are extremely close, okay? And so she can say things to me that, coming from anybody else, it would be painful and wouldn't make sense. But coming from her, because there's no flesh in our way, it's just our spirit.
It's love,
It's just love. I can receive it and it makes sense. I feel like that's what this is.
Good.
I feel like this is total sports, totally outside my realm, but this makes sense to me.
Good.
And I started reading it last week after you gave it.
You made me smile.
And I as well.
And that's what I want. I wanted to put it where people can not only grab it, but grab it and apply it to life situation and know that it really works. I have, as you know, some formulas inside the book. One of the things we were talking about earlier about the rock climbing, I had asked all the guys, so what did you get out of the experience? And the youngest fella there, which was 16, named AJ, said, I saw you up top, Bishop, and you gave way one time, but you kept on fighting until you got back up and climbed to the top. My lesson today is never give up.
Oh, wow.
And so what happened was, is that now we talk about what happens in life when life doesn't go your way, and sometimes situations and circumstances make you give way.
Right.
And so how do you stay your ground, and how do you continue to move forward?
Right.
There's an interesting illustration, because everything, again, has a message in it. It's an interesting illustration about cranberries, how they qualify for the marketplace. They are harvested, they are taken to this big vat, poured into water, and then there is the process of this conveyor belt. And they are bouncing down the conveyor belt as they're being washed. And when it gets through these series of turns, there are 5 steps at the end of the conveyor belt. When the cranberries start going down the steps, what qualifies them for harvest is their bounce.
Yeah.
So in life, it's the bounce that counts. That if you're able to bounce back from every situation, any circumstance, you qualify, you make yourself more marketable, because now you have a story to talk about concerning adversity.
Right.
That's right.
Right, right.
And there's no testimony unless there's a test.
You got to be a test.
You know, and that's right.
Here go one that you all love.
Come on.
And sometimes we're looking for an answer or raising our hand to get the teacher's attention. And we have to remember that teachers don't talk during tests.
That's right. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's
that's
right.
good
They
too.
don't talk during tests.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
sometimes we're asking God to do something.
Yeah.
And God said,
This is the test.
this is a test.
Right.
Can't talk during
Absolutely.
test. After the period.
Now you're right. That's good.
That is good,
That's
isn't
good
it?
right there. That's good.
And it's, because every day it's something new.
Yes,
So it's
indeed.
very important to remember, because otherwise, you're feeling adrift.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 But the other thing that was wonderful about your story and AJ was they're always watching.
They're always
They're
watching.
always watching.
Yes.
It
yes,
doesn't really
yes.
matter how old they are.
And
Right.
it's good to make sure you show well.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, the resolve is not that you're going to come out of what you're in. You're going to come out of it.
Right.
You're going to be all right. What God is looking for, how are you conducting yourself while you're in it?
Right. Absolutely.
Because all of us can rejoice on the other side of
Right.
it.
Right.
But were you still conducting yourself
Right.
in a respectful way,
Right.
in a praising way,
Right.
in an appreciative way, even though you were in it?
Right.
Because it's not about how you come out, it's how you act
While you're
when
in
you're
it.
going through and
Yes.
when you're in it.
That
know
was
why?
last week for me.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. Wow. Okay.
But I wanted to throw this as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
because at the end, God gets the glory.
Yeah.
And so how he gets the glory is a lot to do with how you tell your story.
Yeah, indeed.
Exactly. You know what my last week was like. We had a pretty big deal at work last
Okay.
week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And
Whoa.
I was just thinking, like, these are the longest days I've had in I don't know how long.
know.
And I can't get through the other side of this and say praise God
Yeah.
and be evil and grumpy
Yes.
and obnoxious
Yes.
in the
Yes.
middle
In the
of
middle
it.
of it. Yes, indeed.
You've got to answer every question.
Yes.
You've got to smile. You've got to be on every minute,
Yeah.
because you can't then get to the end, Friday the 4th of July and everything's great. And they're like, yeah, but you were really mean last week.
Yeah.
Right.
You were really obnoxious.
Indeed.
You can't.
Because what happens, that in turns dilutes your testimony.
Right.
Exactly.
Because your testimony, again, is not about on this side. It's about how you were conducting yourself while you were going through. And then you cannot invite people to your attitude and your disposition when they have nothing to do with that.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Now, you can't take nothing out on me, and I didn't sleep with you last night. What's my
Didn't
fault
do
that
it.
we
Wasn't even there.
Yeah, I wasn't even there.
Right.
So
Wasn't even
that's
there.
very unfair, and some people use that as a crutch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last chapter in the book talks about when the pendulum swings. That the pendulum is this kind of clock-like motion that goes from side, and it talks about the highs and lows of life, and that you have to always remember that no matter how low it gets, when the pendulum swings back the same way, it has the same force
Right.
coming in your favor that it had going against
Right.
you.
That's
and
right.
sometimes
That's
we don't
right.
know how to stick and stay
Right.
and see it through and know that everything, tough times don't last.
Right.
Tough people do.
Right.
So you need a teachable head, you need a tender heart,
Yeah.
and you need a tough hide.
That's right.
You need a teachable head because you don't know everything. You need a tender heart because you have to be sensitive to other people's situation. You have to have a tough hide because you have to take a licking and keep on ticking.
You're right.
But life is not about, this whole, bed of roses and all that.
Right.
Life
No.
is about adversity, situation, circumstances.
Right.
There's always something
Always.
that you, Beecher Hicks from Washington, D.C. always says, either you're going into a storm or you're coming out of storm. So then, when I'm coming out of storm, I rejoice for the moment.
Right.
I'm headed right back into a storm because all of it is making me better,
Right.
making me stronger.
Right.
Watch this. So I'll get a different kind of appreciation for the storm and don't look at the storm as my enemy.
Right.
That's